Hello everyone, my name is Moji. You're watching a Bitcoin bubble news channel. I guess the real question is, where are we now and going forward? And I think Dan agrees with me that we're at 10x from here. I believe everything changed during the summer. When Larry Fink said that Bitcoin was a worldwide asset and an important global asset, it basically brought $50 to $100 trillion in capital from equity and brokerage accounts around the world into Bitcoin. New York-based banks are interested in talking to me about what we do for the first time since I came up with the idea for this fund in the middle of 2019. The founder and managing partner of Skybridge Capital, Anthony Scaramucci, is an alternative asset manager and investment advisor. Dan Tapiero is the CEO and managing partner of 10T Holdings, a growth equity fund that focuses on mid to late-stage digital asset ecosystem companies. Both of them are very optimistic about the prices of crypto assets as the bull market continues. According to Tapiero, the digital asset space will have a market cap of $1 trillion by 2025. He says that BlackRock's interest in Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies has changed the way institutions in the US think about them in a big way. Before the beginning of last year, the cryptocurrency industry was often seen as not taking itself seriously and linked to crooks and aimless teens. After the US, this view changed. Earlier this year, the Securities and Exchange Commission approved a number of spot Bitcoin ETFs. BlackRock's iShares Bitcoin Trust set new records. Now, investors have seen how many huge possibilities the industry has, especially when compared to traditional assets like stocks and bonds. Tapiero says that tens of thousands of institutional buyers are moving quickly to get into crypto before it's too late. He thinks that even the most optimistic estimate is that Bitcoin will reach $100,000 per coin during this bull cycle. During the bull cycle in 2028-2022, he thinks it will reach $350,000 per coin. I think we're at 10x from here, and I think Dan agrees with me. I'm not going to put a time limit on that because I don't know for sure. There is some change, but if you look at adoption rates, Mr. Tapiero has great slides that he sometimes shows people that show where adoption rates were last year. They were pretty stable. He put us in 1998 by comparing us to Web 1, so I think it's now around the middle of 1999. Bitcoin has only been adopted by about 5% of people. Think about what will happen if we reach 20% or 30%. From 2009 to now, this is the greatest asset in history. The question now is whether it will beat Nvidia and other great assets. I think it will. It's clear that I've put my business and image at risk. I believe everything changed during the summer. Larry Fink says that Bitcoin was a global asset, and a very important global asset at that. It was a big change from 2 years ago when he said Bitcoin was only used for scams and laundering money. We all know about the $10 trillion fund manager. It's clear that he didn't say those things without knowing that there would be an ETF and that they would be one of the main backers. All 11 of those ETFs came out on January 11th. That has really changed things. When you think about the future, you will have added between $50 and $100 trillion in potential capital to Bitcoin through equity accounts and brokerage accounts around the world. You used to have to sign up for a Coinbase, Kraken, or Gemini account. That didn't really sit well with some people. As a group of people over 50, they all have stock accounts, agents, and RIAs. Now, all they have to do is press a button to get Bitcoin. We thought that would be strong, but it's been much stronger in terms of how it's changed people's minds in the space. We have never sold our funds before, which is why I'm telling you this story. We've never really tried to sell to us institutions, but the 10T1RT funds now have 1.4 billion AUM. We have 2 or 3 organizations, but they came to us through acquaintances of mine. Michigan's MERS Pension Fund and Texas Teachers are both big investors. But we've never tried to sell to them. New York-based banks are interested in talking to me about what we do for the first time since I came up with the idea for this fund in the middle of 2019. It's really cool. I had never had that kind of back and forth question. Surprisingly, they're beginning to move quickly, which for a US institution seems like a contradiction. The ETF is given to them. Through the ETF, they can see how interested their clients are. Finally, I want to say that I believe Bitcoin and Ethereum are well-known investments. They are important tools. That's why ETFs will be used. The Ethereum ETF is also a big part of the future, in my opinion. The other cryptocurrencies are more like startups. They are more guesses. Solana might be getting closer to being a core asset, but it's not quite there yet. When the slowest part of our world, the US institutional world, begins to look under the hood, I get very excited. You have other places of business. As for me, I have been directly involved with that. I'm in charge of the board of investors for a school fund. I've said this more than once. That gift got us off to a good start, and the famous Glensis Casares served as a rallying point. His name is known in this area. We got down to 1%. The amount of money given was $500 million. The first 1% went into Bitcoin and Ethereum. In the middle of 2019, we put a small amount of money into a startup fund. That 1%, or $5 million, is a lot of money, let's say $50 million. You can see that I think ours was the first high school fund in the US to invest straight away. I believe our school was one of the first in the country to invest directly. It's made a big difference. We only risked 1%. That was it. It's helped us do better than many, if not most, of our peers. I believe it is very important for funds to be able to handle the risk of not having enough cash on hand. Try to trade it. I believe that is the worst thing you can do in this space. Unless you have 20 people working for you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. In the real world, I ran a portfolio with daily mark-to-market for more than 20 years. I was also in charge of my own hedge fund and worked at a number of other hedge funds. The problem is 10 times worse and 10 times more complicated. The good things are 10 times bigger, but you have to be active in the small stuff. You can also just relax and do what I think you should do, which is to buy Bitcoin and Ethereum and put them on hold for 10 years. After 35 years, I finally feel like Dan and I are on. In Wall Street, we got the answers to our final exam 5 days before it was due. It was our senior year of high school or college. That's the Bitcoin. He probably thinks the same thing I do, which is that this is something the world needs. This is an asset that is getting bigger. One report was about Bitcoin and the other was about Ethereum. You may have seen that ICBC, the Chinese bank owned by the government, just put out 2 reports. China's Communist Party owns the bank. They are telling you that they are going to use these digital assets or think about using them. One last thing I want to say, which I think is also important, is that it is still very, very early. As you age, you don't do the same things you did when you were younger. When I was younger, someone gave me a portfolio to run. I'm ashamed to say it, but I said, oh, I have a portfolio to run, I have a job, I need to do things in this portfolio to earn my keep. As you age, you look at your collection and think, hey, what do you know? I'm getting paid to do nothing. Dan has an endowment, and I need to tell my store customers and endowment to please calm down, let me handle this, and let's not do anything in these situations. It's tough for fund managers to do that. In the beginning of my work, I was really bad at it.